Welcome to the Leadership Catalyst Power Bites podcast, where leadership meets transformation. I'm your host, Philip Buerta. In each episode, my guest brings their perspectives on real leadership challenges, along with actionable insights you can use. My guest today is Steve Robbins, entrepreneur, executive coach, and author of Get It Done, Guys, 9 Steps to Work Less and Do More. Steve has built a remarkable career helping achievers and leaders design their work and their lives around what truly matters, rather than just what fills the calendar. Steve, welcome. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here.
So, beyond being a best-selling author, Steve was part of several successful startups, including FTP Software, and became widely known as the host of Get It Done Guy podcast, one of iTunes' most popular business shows. He blends systems thinking with human insight, helping people turn productivity into a path for meaning and contribution rather than just output. Steve, so there are many things that I can start with, but the question that I want to start with is, you've spent many years helping people do what matters most. What was it that first led you to make the connection between productivity and alignment, and not just, for example, productivity and speed?
Sure. It all comes down to the difference between efficiency and effectiveness. I started to notice that everyone wanted to be more productive and to streamline their workflow. And honestly, this happened in the context of my coaching practice. So I would be working on a business challenge with the CEO or someone, and they wouldn't have time to do the things they needed to do as a result of our coaching. So as a little sideline, I was like, oh, okay, well, then we need to figure out how to make you a little more productive so that you have the time to do this. And what I started to realize when I would even, there's a thing that I call the to-do list of a leader. And I had a client once who never had enough time. And finally I said, you know what? Let's look at your actual to-do list. Show me the to-do list. And I looked at the to-do list, and it was not the to-do list of a leader. It was the to-do list of an individual contributor. And I realized in that moment, wait a minute, this person doesn't actually know or understand what the leadership job is and how that's different from being an individual contributor. And so if I help them become more efficient, what they're going to become more efficient and more productive at is the wrong thing. They're going to become really efficient at opening the daily mail and paying the bills. But that's not what their job is. That's what the job of their bookkeeper is, or their accountant, or their CFO, depending on the size of the company. And that was when I started to realize that productivity is actually a combination. True productivity has to be a combination of being efficient with what you do, but also doing the right thing. Efficiency and effectiveness. The one-liner is if you're doing the wrong thing and you're efficient about it, you're going to very rapidly get even further to where you don't want to be. So effectiveness is far more important, and direction and alignment is far more important than being productive and efficient.
That's fascinating. So who are the leaders who benefit most from your work? What brings them to you?
Sure. Pretty much anyone can benefit from my work because it scales. It applies equally to somebody who's leading a Fortune 500 company, or somebody who's leading a smaller company, or someone who's leading a team inside of a larger company. And people generally realize they're feeling overwhelmed, they're feeling burned out. They're not necessarily sure if they are actually making progress, because some initiatives take a long time to come to fruition. And it's much easier to measure busyness than it is to measure actual results. And then there's also the time-honored complaint that a lot of leaders have, which is, gosh darn it, people just aren't doing what they need to do. They're off doing these weird side projects. They're off doing things that aren't moving the company forward. They're firefighting, right? Well, that's actually a leadership problem. And the question there becomes, how do you align people behind whatever's most important for the company? And so when people come to me, they're usually coming to me because they're frustrated that the company is not going in a particular direction or their team isn't going in a particular direction, and they need help aligning those so that they make progress.
So if those are the challenges that they come to you with, what are the common symptoms that they experience and that they try and deal with before they come to you?
Sure. I mean, one of them, of course, is the whole burnout situation, and where they feel like they're just overwhelmed, they can't stay on top of everything, and even though they're working 80 hours a week, things still aren't moving any faster than they were when they were working 40 hours a week or 30 hours a week or, whatever. So one is just unescapable overwhelm. And the other one, which is really what I mentioned before, the symptom is that people seem to be doing things that aren't the important things. And the difficulty is in marshaling people and getting them all on the same page.
So from your experience and perspective, what are the typical errors people make? Or if they try and address these issues, how do they hold themselves back by attempting to do this on their own?
Well, the biggest is they don't understand the nature of the job. Being a business leader is really three jobs. There's being a boss, which is telling people what to do. There's being a manager, which is developing the systems and making sure the systems work that support people in doing what they need to do. And management is also a bit of an alignment job. It's a systems alignment job. Make sure the work this team is doing meets the KPIs, which is a key performance indicator for anyone watching who doesn't know the term, meets the KPIs of the level above us in the organization, of whoever it is that's given us our mandate. That's management. What leadership is the piece of this that's much harder to quantify, although I have kind of done that. Leadership is the part that engages people not on the analytical systems type of thinking, but on the motivational thinking and on the alignment, the knowing what the goals are. And for leadership, you're looking at setting direction. And let's be real concrete. What that means is you need to know what direction you're moving in. And you need to make sure that everyone around you knows that and understands it correctly. And then it's working with the manager. And if you're a business leader, these might reside in the same head. It's then working with the manager to make sure that that direction is set, that it is aligned with the systems that are being built and with what you're doing on a day-to-day and week-to-week basis. And then the third part is the motivation and the meaning part, which is that when you're working with humans, they need to be motivated and they need to find meaning in what they're doing. And that's the part of the leadership job that doesn't fall under management or being a boss, and in fact, which can conflict with being a boss. And that's the part where you help the people who you're working with find meaning and find motivation in their jobs.
Do you have a free resource that listeners can access or help and support them if they want to work with this and they want to get into this in a deeper way?
Absolutely. What I have is a leadership time use, which is based on the idea of the to-do list of a leader, where I've taken the main things that a leader does, which are number one, not the boss or the manager parts, that are the leadership parts. But number two, these are also the parts that can't be delegated. Because if you are in a leadership position, no matter how you got there, maybe you were even promoted and you didn't want to be there. If you're in that position, there are certain things about just the position as a position that will trigger behaviors in people. You need to get those things under control, whether or not you want to, they're part of your job. And what this is a leadership time use inventory, and it lets you take a look at the basic responsibilities of a leader and ask how much time are you spending on these and how much time should you be spending on these. And there's no right answer, but the wrong answer is I'm not spending any time on any of these. That's definitely the wrong answer. But the right answer depends on you, your situation, the people around you, and so on.
So is there a link that I can give people for them to be able to access that?
Absolutely. stever.me/leader. So my first name, stever.me/leader, and that'll give you the PDF.
Perfect. I'll put that into the show notes, but I'll also put a little Cairo below so that it's easy to follow up.
Nice.
My final question, Steve, is about authentic leadership. For me, authentic leadership is leading in a way that is congruent with who you truly are. And the fascinating thing that I found in our conversation is that, as a lot of people know, to really connect with who you truly are, you have to connect with your values. And what my work has led me to understand is that what we call values is nothing else but a much deeper, energetic understanding of what truly matters. And that's where our worlds connect up, because it's not just in who we are that what truly matters most is important, but it's also in what we do. So from your perspective, how do you see what is authentic leadership?
Wow. This is something I've thought a lot about because I was raised in a traveling New Age polyamorous hippie commune, which, as one is, and I have spent most of my career trying to fit the mold of a Harvard Business School grad and somebody who consorts with Fortune 500 CEOs. The problem is they can see me coming a mile away. And no matter how hard I try to pretend that I'm that, I'm not that. And the interesting part is the incongruity between how I'm trying to show up and how I do show up actually hurts me worse than just showing up as myself. Now, when I show up as myself, there are some people who are going to be turned off by that. They're going to say, well, wait a minute, you're not wearing a tie. You have a really colorful background. What's that all about? Can't trust color, can we? And that's one thing. But, and this is the piece that it's easy to miss, there are going to be other people who see that and say, wait a minute, he's really colorful, and he thinks about things differently, and he's irreverent. Those people are going to want to learn from me, as long as it's clear that I'm credible. I mean, the advantage, quote unquote, to being able to wear a power suit is the power suit conveys credibility, and and you don't actually need to have competence. You can just wear the power suit and boom, you've got the credibility. In my case, I kind of do it in reverse. I look horrible in a power suit. I look like someone trying to look powerful by wearing a power suit, and it just doesn't work. However, if I can get 5 minutes of somebody's attention, I can show up like this, wearing my casual shirt and my colored background, and I can have them asking me back to be on another episode because I have really good ideas. So for me, the credibility challenge and the authentic leadership challenge is understanding that my authenticity is going to enable me to lead a different group of people than somebody else's authenticity will allow them to lead. And that's okay. I mean, it's taken me decades to realize that's okay, but it's just not even going to work for me to try to fake it. And even if I can fake it and if I can pass externally, the emotional and cognitive energy use of doing that day in and day out. I mean, I'm sure there are some people who do it, but but for me, boy, does it free up a lot to not do it, understanding the effect that's going to have on my world. I just need to understand what my type is. And my type is colorful, apparently.
Steve-O, thank you very much. And this is an insight that I take from this. And it's the reason why I say that is because it's not the insight I thought I would take from this, is authentic leadership does not mean you have to have a power suit. And you're the absolute proof of that. I really appreciate your insights.
And thank you for having me.